Subscribe to Film Companion for your film fix. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. So first of all, congratulations on Tanhaji.
Well, thank you.
You made for such an elegant psychopath.
Yeah, it was quite a deranged part. But thank you, and thanks to Ajay and Om Rawat and the whole team. It was, I'm glad I could contribute to that.
But right after that, I see you in Jawaani Jaaneman as this sort of quintessential, that trademark Saif role of the middle-aged playboy, which just looked like so much fun. And as I was watching that preview, I was just thinking that could it be that of all the Khans working today, you're having the most fun?
Well, I don't know. I am having fun.
Aren't you?
Yes, I am having fun. There's a wide variety of roles being offered, and I'm enjoying being capable of playing them. And I think balance is key. And I think I'm in quite a comfortable place in life with my personal life as well as friends and holidays or whatever, and with enough exciting work. I think the challenge or the thing is to keep a healthy outlook and not get too caught up. I think that's always been the thing, because movies can be so all-consuming, and this town can be so all-consuming. When growing up also, I think my parents probably helped that they were from different fields. Didn't really talk about this stuff much after working hours.
At home?
Yeah. And I think we've kind of carried that on, and it helps keep one sane, and that is a source of happiness. Because if you're constantly in that thing of comparing and looking at other people, I think that would have made me miserable. So I think I am happy, and I'm happy because I'm getting good work and it's interesting work. But also I think it's a means to an end, and that end is to travel or to experience things with friends and family away from the work.
But it's a part of this sort of creative liberation where you're doing pretty much anything that excites you, right? I mean, you couldn't have imagined doing a role like Kalakandi a while ago, or even what you did in Tanhaji, which is just dark of another level, right? Yeah. This also comes with risk. It comes with films utterly bombing. I mean, do you have a moment of panic like when Lal Kaptan opens at 50 lakh? Do you feel like, holy shit, is it over?
Yeah, I mean, there is. You justify it by saying, I think, it's the wrong kind of movie. And there are certain movies that appeal more or whatever. But would I do it again? Perhaps not. So, I mean, you do, but at the time, you feel that this is good cinema and this is something that appeals, and all you have really is your instinct and an idea where you say that should I do this or not, and it had all the things that kind of turned me on about movies and acting, but it is frightening. Of course it's frightening, and I don't know, I think I'm really lucky that one continues to work and to be offered interesting stuff despite a debacle like that. And it was so heartbreaking because it was the most exhausting thing I'd ever done. Physically and mentally. I mean, in a way it was beautiful because we went to these, if you compare that to Tanhaji in the sense that this was entirely, at one point I was watching Tanhaji with Om, who is a kind of CG expert as well. And it was all these amazing things happening, and these horses coming and going and charging across the frame, and a mountain and birds. And he says to me, we haven't left Filmistan yet as a studio. So far it's all been on a floor. And I was like, my God, and it was so controlled and easy, whereas Lal Kaptan was such hard work, 3 hours to location and then makeup and live horses and forts, and it was lovely. But it really wasn't worthwhile in that sense. So that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. But do you ever doubt your stardom?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think stardom is something that, if a film of yours comes out and a lot of people instantly flock to see it, even on a bad day. Yeah. And by those parameters, I don't think I'm a star even, where I mean, there's nothing guaranteed, you know. There's certain roles that appeal more to others, that certain roles I do that would appeal more, and certain films. And I think it's certainly not that if there's anything I do, it would appeal, you know. So I don't really think of myself as a star in that sense. I'm quite realistic about that. But I know how to act, and I think I have a personality and all those things. But I do doubt it constantly. So, I mean, part of my struggle as an actor, or part of the challenges one faces, is that it's never really finding the confidence to play the part or to turn up to work and be and behave like a star on screen without really having the kind of feeling that you are one, you know. So you have to find it from somewhere, and it's probably usually with being able to do the job.
Yeah.
You know.
It's the craft.
Yeah. So yes, that helps. But I mean, it's full of doubt all the time. Yeah.
But it's interesting because I think you are an A-list star,
right.
And yet that what you spoke about, that ability to deliver that Friday,
yeah.
doesn't always pan out.
No.
But that doesn't dent the stardom, which is wonderful.
Which is great.
Yeah, because it allows you to keep taking risks.
Yes, and you know, but I must say, I'm trying to be a little more conservative now. I mean, I'm doing this sequel of Bunty Bubbly.
Oh no! Don't go safe on us.
No, it's not really safe. I'm playing a middle-aged guy with quite a big paunch. So
are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find. I mean, it's a relief to be doing, and it's a full comedy.
Yeah.
It's encouraging, you know, that Aditya Chopra would want to cast me, and the various films I am doing. I feel, I mean, there's a reason. I don't even know what that reason is, where people seem to have belief and faith, and they're like, you know, continue to do this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth and just
let's
my
not
head down
introspect too much.
Yeah, not too much. Just quite happy.
You know, I was talking to Kabir Khan, and he said to me that he can forgive bad acting in a film. He can forgive sort of sloppy scripting, but he said what he can't forgive is bad politics. And the politics in Tanhaji are questionable.
Yeah.
Does that bother you as an actor?
I mean, not as an actor. It might bother me as an Indian or as a
So
human
how do you
being.
work around that then?
Well, I mean, I mentioned it a couple of times, but I don't think, for some reason, I did not take a stand. Maybe I would next time. I just was very excited about playing the role.
Yeah, it's a delicious role.
It's a delicious role.
Yeah.
But, you know, whether it's, when people say that this is history and this is how it is, I don't think this is history. And I'm quite aware of what the history was.
Yeah, because you're a history buff.
Yeah, and I don't think there was a concept of India till perhaps the British gave it one. So there's many things.
Right.
Which I don't think there really is any constructive point in arguing about loudly, provided you yourself know why you're doing it and you're not. I think history will be something that will be the realm of, you know, the intelligent, or it's after a point, someone being taught that in schools today shouldn't quote it internationally because they will be corrected and they'll be told that they're wrong.
Yeah.
But why we're doing it, I mean, I would really like to be part of a film industry that would take a stand that wouldn't make mass kind of movies like that. And
like Tanhaji?
Yeah, I mean, that would rather say that, no, this is what history is.
Right.
You know, rather than trying to mold it to a certain kind of belief. But people say this is what runs, and that's what's given it the extra kind of bump. I mean, it's more than just an action movie. There's an idea there that seems to have caught on.
But it's a dangerous idea.
It is certainly a dangerous idea. It is a dangerous idea. I completely agree with you. But have I taken a stand against it? No. Why? I don't know. You know.
It's a tough place.
It is a tough place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, I'm sorry, but that role was just delicious, and I just wanted to play it.
Yeah.
But it is a little sad that as a sort of as the intelligentsia, or as like the artists, or as what should be the most liberal and or the most informed kind of cultural voice in the country, that we're kind of taking a populist or making a populist approach, or it's not certainly it's not something I'm that I think is great. It's just I just think this is the way it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, it's not the coolest stand.
I know.
But
I know. Yeah. Do you see this changing anytime soon, Saif? Or do you think the polarization even within the industry is just becoming harder?
I think it is becoming harder. I don't know. I mean, on one hand, I feel that the minute Pakistan was created out of this concept of India, that this was bound to happen. I mean, there's members of my family that left India, and there's members that stayed during partition. And the ones that stayed believed in a secular country, and the ones that left thought that after partition it's not going to be a secular country anymore. I fear maybe it's taken a couple of generations for the idealists to die away, and I feel the direction in which it's headed is headed now will be not secular. So I don't even know. I mean, sometimes I have to be selfish about this and say, if I look at my life in India today, I've never actually been happier if I don't start questioning the ideals of what's happening somewhere else. As far as, the medicine and the medical facilities available to me and my family is better than ever before. My life has been saved, my thumb has been saved, there's good doctors. Investments are great, there's honest returns on money which weren't there in the past. Education for the kids is great, and the work is brilliant. So I've never been happier. But whether it's the India that, embraced secularism and all the various ideas and what people talk about, I think we're moving away from that, and I think it's pretty obvious that we would, and I don't even know if it was a realistic notion to hold on to that idea for too long. I certainly don't see anyone fighting for it.
And I think students are.
Yeah, yes, the students are. I'm talking about us.
Yeah.
And I think the ideas of a democracy where people can say things and do things and they just get respected for taking whatever stand they do. Yeah. The impact of us saying whatever we say is so strong, and sometimes we can hurt so many other people. So it might even, you can argue it might be unfair for an actor to take a certain political stand or to make a certain comment, because the film might get banned and some poor guy who didn't even say anything would suffer.
It's a collaborative art. There are too many people involved.
So perhaps it's not right for an actor to stick his neck up and make a kind of comment. I think perhaps we should stay apolitical and leave the politics to people who've made it their business. But I mean,
is this something you struggle with?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I do realize that there are many places in the world that are different. I mean, you think of the United States as being the hotbed of democracy and freedom of speech, and not everywhere else is. Yeah. But our ideas, fortunately or unfortunately, of freedom come from that country. But doesn't mean you can apply the same thing
not at all
to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And maybe we should come to terms with that there will be ramifications to what you say and do. Yeah. So most people don't think it's worth it to endanger their professions, their families, their homes, and in a way just let it slide.
Yeah. Tell me, Saif, you often talk about how much more confident you are as an actor today.
Yeah.
What are you doing differently? Like, is there something practically on the set that you do that you didn't do before?
I don't know how to explain it. There's a kind of understanding that's come in slowly over time. Also, the kind of films have changed, or I don't know. It's like understanding a language in a different way. Perhaps I hadn't thought about it before as much. and it was more of a, you know, just playing versions of yourself and just being instinctive and just doing it. Whereas now, you know, giving some thought to technique as to, you know, what is it that you're trying to project. And
so you think about it differently?
Yeah, much more. I think about it much more. And what would be a good way of translating what I would like to translate, whether it would be with, you know, body language or some kind of an action, or there would be flicking something away. There's
like
many
the
ways. Like the detail, but it's communication. Like
right.
how would you express, you know, your annoyance with that thing? It doesn't have to be a frown and a scowl. It could be just, you know, slamming the door where, you know, where, or making a little bit more noise, or chomping on some ice, I don't know, you know,
right.
if there's something in the glass. So if you're open, you get these ideas, but they're all based on an interesting communication. You say, how do I communicate this in a slightly interesting way? Because I think people like to be, or are detectives, you know, in a way when they're watching. They're looking for clues. And if it's too obvious what you're doing, it's not really interesting for people.
Tell me about playing this role in Jawaani Jaaneman. It is the role that you had patented at one time. You were the urbane sort of lover boy. And here you are, you know, redoing Ole Ole from what, Ye Dil Lagi in...
Right, 92, 93.
26 years ago or some such?
Yeah,
My God, what was that like?
Well, we didn't really do Ole Ole, I have to say. It's more of a background track.
For
and
sure.
It's kind of, but part of the story, Jawaani Jaaneman's about a guy who hasn't accepted. I mean, the film's about acceptance.
Right.
And accepting your age and accepting your family. And this guy finds out that, you know, he's a father, and he finds out a few other things as well, which he wasn't ready for. So we thought Ole Ole would be quite apt, because it's the same kind of guy that thought hanging out with girls and going to parties is great, but it's not age appropriate anymore, but he's still doing it. So that's why that song, because it's a little ironic in a way that it's the same guy who hasn't changed. And what made the story fresh was, you know, running into like a pretty girl in a nightclub who wants to have a serious chat with you, and you think this is great until she tells you, you know, you might be her dad. And that kind of brings everything crashing down. And that's when the questioning starts. And it was a lovely story simply about acceptance, you know. And it was right that I do it, because somewhere the audience, I think, will also associate that, okay, this is the same stuff, and oh God, you know, it's all changed now, because that's not a girl, that's his daughter.
It feels like an extension of those characters.
It's a kind of coming of age of that character, you know, literally. I mean, he ends up, I don't want to spoil it, but he ends up as being more than a father. I mean, he's really has to come to terms with his age in the movie, which was fun, you know. I mean, it's quite... Nitin Kakkar, who's a wonderful director, has really brought out something artistic and special in it, whether it's, you know, the way he uses his glasses to read but is hiding the fact that he needs glasses and all those fun things.
Right. How can you have swag when you've got glasses on?
Yeah, exactly. So it's an intelligent movie, and it's quite touching, really, about and I enjoyed playing this person. And there's some lines that we kind of pushed in terms of, you know, he's a hard drinking kind of guy, and he passes out a few times and ends up I don't know where, and has passed out in the street. And you know people like this, and that's what drinking is.
Yeah.
And I haven't often seen it in commercial movies. So it was fun to have that kind of character.
Well, it's been a great start to 2020 for both you and Kareena, with good news.
Yes.
Tell me, how deeply embedded are you in each other's careers? Do you give advice? Do you look at scripts? Do you bounce ideas off of each other?
No, I mean, I guess we talk about it sometimes when it overflows into our personal lives, and if there's something wrong or if there's something right, I mean, we share. But we're really not particularly interested, I think, in that aspect of each other beyond a point, which is refreshing to each other. It wouldn't be, otherwise we've never had that relationship where it's about the work. It's been an escape from the work, each other. So we come home and say, okay, you know, this person doesn't really care. But of course, if there's something you wanted to, I mean, we're actors and we love it, so there's many times we're boring the other person by telling them about this fabulous scene we did, or what do you think of this script? but how really involved we are in each other's is actually not really involved at all. I think we both try and listen sometimes.
But you'd rather not.
I mean, that's not what we're in it for, really.
Right.
I mean, you know, so you can sometimes, but then you're more about planning the next holiday, or, you know, where to eat, and, you know, how is that wine, or what did so-and-so say,
Right.
you know, or play some music, or let's talk about how to live, rather than what she said or what he said, or, you know, as in on a...
The work.
As in the work.
Yeah. You know, I read somewhere that children are qualified immortality, and that really sort of struck me when I saw Ibrahim on his first magazine cover. It just looks like you.
Yeah.
You know, what is that like, Saif, to see your son retrace your steps?
Well, I don't know if he is retracing my steps, but that's the, you know, there's the thing about Bombay, you know, that people kind of say these things in the press, and everyone's like, okay, you know, obviously, I mean, we look really similar.
Yeah.
And whether they push you into the profession or talk about it as the only kind of viable option, I don't know.
Does he not want to act?
I think he does want to act, but he's really enjoying playing cricket and being in school and doing all that, and then he'll do university, and then after that.
Right. So there's a while.
There is a while. There's about 4 years, you know, 5 years before. He's very young. He's 19, and it'd be great if he's interested. I mean, it's a fabulous profession. I mean, and so interesting and lovely. I mean, his whole family's in it, so
Right.
I can't really blame him. It would be great. We just get a little cautious, you know, and saying, okay, what if it doesn't work out the way you want? So you have to have other things in life. And also, it'd be nice as a human being if you're exposed to other things, like university in America, or if you're lucky enough to have that privilege. It can broaden your mind and gives you perspective on so much. So it's that sort of thing. And he won't be retracing my steps, and it'll be a whole new, you know, they say that time is like, what, a river, no? So it'll be a different
it
thing
would be,
by the
of
time
course.
he gets there.
Of course.
And I really hope he can. But yeah, there is something funny about seeing your, you know, chapa like in another human being. You're like, okay, this is kind of immortality. As people say, you get it either through some kind of cultural legacy or genetic kind of legacy.
Right.
So here we have both. So fully, you know, work in movies as well as children that look like you. So yeah, it doesn't feel particularly immortal, though, I tell you.
Yeah. Does it, you know, does it sort of feel like, do you feel that you need to protect them from the things that you've experienced, perhaps?
You do, and I guess people work to say that, you know, there should be a certain amount that you give your kids. I mean, whether that's protection or, I mean, you shouldn't probably have kids unless you can look after them in a certain way, like, you know, financially, I mean.
Yeah.
But so much of it, they have to be on their own. And you want to protect them, but they're not really interested after a point.
No, they're not.
You know?
Yeah.
So they think they know everything, and they, you know, so you're kind of like a silent safety net.
Right.
That, you know, and that's your job.
If you need me, I'm here.
If you need me, I'm there, and otherwise, please call. And of course, they don't. So enjoy them while they're dependent, because when they're independent, you will see less of them for sure, unless, you know, they're living with you.
Yeah. And finally, Saif, tell me, you turned 50 this year.
Ji.
And you said that it's very humbling to grow old. What did you mean?
Well, it is humbling because nothing is permanent here. And you think it is, but I mean, you think about actors, you know, like who've gotten older, and they've been colossus. I mean, like, they've been giants in the industry. And, you know, now they're gone, and when they were, so it's temporary. Everything's temporary. And even being alive is obviously temporary, but being young is temporary. And there's a time where you're on top of it, and then there's a time when you're past it. So it's humbling because you think you have control, and you think you are, you know, you've achieved something. And it's not been easy to achieve that, or to survive, or to, you know, pay the bills or whatever. And you do that, and then it's fleeting. So it's humbling because nobody really deserves or dares to really think, you know, to get comfortable enough in that seat because many more will be there, greater than us, better than us, younger, faster, whatever. So the whole idea, I mean, the whole idea of how temporary it is what I meant, because everything about it, I mean, it seems like really solid at the time, you know, when you built the house or when you got it all together, but you can't keep it. Yeah. So that's humbling. When you realize you just can't keep it, which is in a way liberating also, really. You shouldn't think you can. Yeah. So when you're humble and you realize you can't, that's liberating in itself. Then you're like, okay, whatever, you know, it's fine. It's fine. It is fine.
Yeah, it is fine. Yeah. That's a wonderful way to see it.
And it's the only way I can think of.
Yeah, absolutely. Saif, thank you. It's always so wonderful to talk to you.
I know, lovely.
Thank you.